Welcome to Section 8, Consuming an API. In this section, we will build a web application to consume our Contacts API. We will first start by setting up the web application server. Then we will handle errors on the front end. Next, we will implement signing up and signing in. Then we will display the logged user's contact. Next, we will create new contacts. Next, we will deploy the web application microservice. And finally, there will be a course summary. So now, let's start by setting up the web application server. Back in your code editor, you will need to create a new folder named Client at the same level than the API folder. Once this folder has been created, change directory into it by entering the following command: client. Next, run the following command in order to initialize a npm project. Then, run this command in order to install the required dependencies. We will use Express, Cores, Morgan, Helmet, EJS, Axios, and PM2. Feel free to install the typed libraries also. Next, we will create an index.js. Inside this index.js, we will import all our libraries except PM2. Then, we will set some variables like the port, the API service DNS. This will help us to connect to our backend. Next, we create a new Express application. Then, we register our different middlewares. Nothing new here, except for the express.url encoded, which will help us to put the form fields inside the body of the request. More on this later. Next, we will set our view engine, which is EJS, which stands for Embedded JavaScript. This will help us create HTML pages by creating templates. Next, we set a static server inside the public folder. For this, you will need to create a folder named public at the root of your client folder. Inside this folder, you can create a main.js file. In this file, you will be able to access the JavaScript browser side. That is, if you want to manipulate the DOM, the document object model. Next, back into our index.js file, we will set the first route endpoint in order to serve our index page. Because we are using EJS, you will need to create a folder named views. Inside this folder, create a file named index.ejs. This will be our template. Inside it, you can create a basic HTML5 document by entering HTML5, then Ctrl-Tab in order to autocomplete the creation of the HTML document. Next, you can set a title. Then, you will add a link in order to import the boot swatch library, that is a custom bootstrap theme for our web page. Next, you will add the import for the main.js file. And next, inside the body, we will create a h1 tag with the text working. Also, in order to put in the center of our page the different elements, you can use this inline CSS style in order to say text line to the center and to put some automatic margins. Next, inside our package.json, we will create different scripts in order to start our web application server. For this, first of all, we will use the pre-install script in order to install PM2 globally. Then we will set a default script for starting our server. Next, we will set a start for the production environment using PM2 and the ecosystem config file. And finally, we set a development start using PM2, but this time with the environment variables for the development environment. Let's look at the ecosystem.config.json file. Inside it, we will create an application named client. Then the script to start this application will be node index.js. Then we want only one instance. We want it to auto restart. And here are the different development variables. Now, make sure your server is running. You can do this by entering npm run start dev. It should display that the server is running on port 5000. Next, open a browser and go to localhost at the port 5000, and you will see this HTML page showing the text working. So our web application server is working. You can get more information by going to this link.